Welcome to Riverbend Talent on WBGZ. Brought to you by the Halpin Music Company.
Another Riverbend Talent on the Big Z, brought to you by the Halpin Music Company and by Mr. Matt Van Voorhis of Macias Insurance. The sea shanty sing-along already underway down at Morrison's Irish Pub until 9 o'clock. We got open mic later tonight, usually at the Conservatory with Scotty the Hottie, Space Wolf, Miller. And Across the Line underway at Fast Eddie's until 10 o'clock. Music in the Park with Schaefer and Sims out in Bethalto at 7 o'clock tonight. Got the Speed Demon Car Cruise with up to 11, 6 to 9 at Red's Tavern in Sage House in Bunker Hill. The Big Little Band doing Grafton music in the park from 7 to 9. Kevin Gruen at George's Pub and Grill, 6 to 9 tonight. David Surkamp and Ian Matthews was scheduled for the Wild E Theater. You never know. Sometimes they happen, sometimes they don't at the Wild E Theater. I hadn't had a chance to check it today, but I do know that the scruffy-looking nerf herder is playing at Big Daddy's. It's his only gig this weekend, and you know that guy plays a lot, but if you're going to catch him this weekend, it's got to be at Big Daddy's tonight until 9 o'clock. Ryan Holting playing out at the cabin at Judy Creek from 6 to 9. Nick Elmore down at Deutsch Village Inn in Pontoon Beach from 7 to 11. We got the Pajama Jam with Josh Witt from 8 o'clock tonight until midnight-ish at the El Gato in Granite City. An instant replay started at 5:30 up at the Prairie Inn in Dorsey. They go until 8:30 tonight, and I know people have been waiting for several weeks for the star of the show to return. And he is back. Big Pen is back. And I'm gonna slam him right off the bat because he told me Rock Crown was coming in tonight.
What?
And
what?
So I did not research the guy that's in tonight, which is Paul Light, who I had a million questions for the last time Lisa Everhart Light was here, and he didn't show up. So I asked her all the questions, and she's like, "You got to ask Paul."
Yes, so I got those numbers wrong. The 28th of this month, that's when Rock Crown will be here.
Okay.
That is that, yeah. I don't know how I...
Well, you got the last two right, just so you know. It was Jacob and then Trophy Mules.
You know, 2 out of 3 ain't bad is what Meatloaf says.
That's what Meatloaf says. But the reason I bring that up is I was trying to catch up real quick with Paul Light because this goes back to our history of rock and roll thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul's been around forever. Another Star Search. Was it Star Search or was it they got somebody
lean on into the mic for us there,
right
Paul.
here.
Yeah.
Hello. No, it wasn't Ted Mack's Amateur Hour.
Okay.
It was Star Search. I guess it was called 85.
Okay.
Tail of end of 84. And that was kind of the end of my professional music career.
Man.
That was the end of it.
No, you're still doing stuff. Come on.
Yeah,
professional, you're saying, right?
Yeah,
you're not a professional.
That was when I stopped that was when I stopped trying to make a living at it.
Oh, okay. There you go.
That's a big difference. Well, I mean, no insurance, not paying into Social Security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just your own little business,
I was telling Pigpen we need to have like you and Billy Hurst and Ruby Lee all get together and battle it out.
Ruby Lee from
The Voice.
From The Voice.
Oh, I thought you meant like from Jim Dandy.
No.
That was Ruby. Oh, Ruby Lee from here.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, she's awesome.
All the television competition people from our area.
I don't have that kind of a voice. I was always a utility guy.
Right.
Kind of keep the glue it together and keep it, working, keep it moving.
But that video is out there. You can watch you guys. What was the name of that group?
The Action.
Yeah, The Action. But it changed names like right before that.
They were called the Wave Band.
That's right.
And I wasn't in that band. I was in a band before that called Griffin.
Yeah.
For about 6 years, from 77, 78 until I guess about 83. And my brother and I had, Griffin was a pretty well settled down band, and they were working and making money. And I kind of like to build things and move on.
Right.
And so much as I love those guys, I see them all the time. We're going to do a reunion at the Granary. They're going to have a Granary reunion.
Right, yeah.
From the place that was in Edwardsville. And they're going to do that when? gosh, all the way in September 7th, Sunday.
Okay.
It's going to be at the Collinsville VFW. But yeah, all the bands that, played there are all trying to get back together and learn them old songs. I'm like, oh my God, I got to sing Bee Gees.
Wow.
We were kind of a disco funk band, so we would do that stuff and Brick House, all that stuff, and then launch into the trapeze and kind of prog stuff, so it was kind of a unique band. But the original band that I joined, I guess it was the end of '78, which was Danny Prosser and Robin Knuckles, who are passed away, and Rich Woodruff, who has also played in a band called Topaz that was from Alton.
I remember Topaz.
But Griffin was from Collinsville, Edwardsville, that area, but they were kind of a working band that worked in the clubs, you know. And so anyway, I was in that form of a band, and I was the lead singer. And they had a great
high notes.
They had a great band. They didn't need me. I mean, they had a great band. Danny Prosser was a great singer, keyboard player, trumpet player, guitar player, lead player, and why they hired me, I don't know. But I could see once I got into it, because they're 5, 6, 7 years older than me. The party was going.
Yeah.
They needed me for, kind of a buffer, let's say, is what it was going on. But so that, so I had a lot of people that came in and out of that band, There was a local band called Full Moon Consort, who were kind of probably the best prog rock band in St. Louis back then. Chuck Sabatino ended up working with Michael McDonald, for 30 years.
Right.
Chuck was the original lead singer, and I mentioned Joe Marshall and Steve Strayhorn. Those guys were, the whole band was awesome. If you had a chance, they've got videos and stuff on them. But
now you're talking about Griffin?
I am, yeah.
Okay, I wanted to make sure, because we went from Star Searching.
We went.
Okay.
Let me get you to there. But
Okay.
we went from the Griffin band. Full Moon Consort had gone to L.A.
Okay.
to get a deal, and they knew Michael, and it was that time, and they weren't pop. They were just a really great band, But anyway, the band kind of broke up, as many do once they get to the big city. Mm-hmm. And so Joe and Steve came back, and I was sitting in our booking agent's office, and they get on the phone and said, "Oh, we're coming back to St. Louis." And I go, "They're hired right now. I need players," So I started going through guys, and these guys were real good. So they were coming and going. They weren't really, ready to go back into the bar band business, but that's mainly was the business. That's how they made a living. So we were booked. I mean, we've played 33 gigs, 33 nights. We were playing sometimes in the afternoon. We played at SIU in the afternoon. Yeah. Played it just on the road of about a 250-mile radius of St. Louis, which would go up north, Peoria.
That's a pretty good area.
Champaign-Urbana, over to Bloomington, and those clubs all had everybody played there. Cheap Trick and REO Speedwagon, and all those guys played there. Head East, but they all came down here too, and they were playing in those clubs. The clubs around here. The Granary was one of them. But anyway, so I held that band together. My brother joined up with me out of a group called Crosswind, which was another Alton band.
I remember that. I think John Mondon was in that
John was in
band.
Crosswind, yeah. We all kind of started together, and then I'm not going to say ambitious. I wasn't any good to begin with. I was one of those guys that, and my friend Ben Fowler, he was the drummer when we started, sends me a picture of a key bass. It looks like a Fender Rhodes, but it's only this 2 octaves down here. I was so desperate not to get fired from the band that I got one of those. I'm going to play bass. But so anyway, I couldn't figure out how to play bass. I was about 14, So I went out and what everybody did? Get a microphone and a PA speaker, because nobody wanted to sing.
Yeah.
Absolutely nobody wanted to sing back then.
Yeah, that's
and
how I
couldn't
got the
sing
gig,
high
too.
or low. I couldn't sing high or low. My God.
But if you're willing to do it,
That's
you can
right.
get in, and that was
That's
the key.
right.
That was my key.
That was my key.
Right, got
That
me
and
in.
you couldn't
was my
play his
key.
guitar as good as the other guys in the band.
Oh,
so.
no, yeah,
Well,
there's
you
just
know,
no way. Yeah.
I spent hours and hours, literally, in high school with John Mondon and Dave Sumner, a lot of guys that I played in bands with in high school, and they were for hours dropping the needle,
Yeah.
learning the piece. Every
No
Allman
YouTube,
Brothers,
kids. No YouTube.
I mean, to learn the entire Allman Brothers
Exactly.
catalog, and John knows that
Oh, yeah.
backwards.
Yeah.
You know,
it is
we
not
were
easy.
we were learning Wishbone Ash and Yes, and we were in high school.
It's good
You
stuff.
know, but it made me learn it because these guys, well, they took lessons from Bill Schrader up at Hamilton Music, wherever, you know, had Hamilton, you had Halpin. Halpin had great teachers.
Yeah.
You know, I remember buying I could have swore I thought it was from Chuck Berry. It was down there one day. It was when Halpin's was right down on Broadway, and Mrs. Halpin, you know, was there, and I go in and I see this. It's an ES 355 TV, a Gibson, you know,
Right.
the red
Right.
stereo with the gold hardware, everything. I look at that thing and I look at the back of the neck, and the headstock had been broken off, but it had been pinned back together and glued. And I go, "Oh, how much is that?" And it's $400. Well, back then you could put it on layaway,
Right.
you know. So $5 a week. Took me a while
Yeah.
on the paper route. You know.
For sure.
But,
You know, I bet every single one of those red guitars was, you know, the story was it came from Chuck Berry, right?
Well, I got to know a guy named Greg Edick. Greg Edick, which his dad was George Edick, who owned the Club Imperial down in Gaslight Square. And Greg played with Chuck.
Right.
Went to France with him and went all over playing with him. And Greg's still around. He comes over to Alton every once in a while,
Yeah.
you know. But, yeah, you talked about Steve Scorfina.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys have been around. I mean, I remember going to see him and kind of hanging out with them. But, you know, they're older guys, you know. Mm-hmm. But it was fun.
Yeah, before we went on air, I was telling him the story that Steve told us about him and Michael McDonald. They were like 11 years old when they started a band, but they were too young to get in a club where Almond Joy was playing.
Right.
But they stood outside the back door and listened.
Yeah, got to know them when they came out.
And then you got into the story which you told us last time, which I'm going to have you tell on the air again, about the guitar.
Well, Joe Marshall and Steve Scorfina were friends. Yeah, all these guys were great musicians, and back then, I mean, it was competitive, but it was a loving.
It was
It was
friendly.
Yeah, it's a friendly, and it still is like that.
It's just supposed to be.
If you can
It's
get
supposed
past
to be.
people's Facebook and ego and stuff,
Right.
and just get to the bare, thing. Most people were pretty real, and those guys were. They did a lot for St. Louis to, bring music here, and they played in a lot of different bands. And what was the band that Steve was in with David? Pavlov's Dog.
Yes,
Right,
Surf
Pavlov's
Camp,
Dog,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, they had a drummer, Mike. What's Mike's last name?
Saffron, yeah.
And Mike was putting a band together called Children after Pavlov's Dog. I mean, these guys are heavy. I mean, he was a heavy hitter.
Yeah.
And I went over. I had gotten some road cases for my rig, and this guy Jay Berry had a factory, and they were rehearsing on it. And Mike was, listen to this. He was trying to take it around. Listen to this. See if you can think you could do this type of stuff. I'm like a kid, I'm like, but they ended up having a great band. I mean, it's and it's unfortunate because these bands, they did get opportunities to play, but their music was really progressive. Very progressive. Way past my abilities.
Yeah.
But like I said, singing, you could get away. Well, not get away with everything, but that could get you in the door because there just weren't many of them doing it. And I guess it just comes down to if you're, you do it a couple of times. I mean, what happened to me is I didn't really want to be a lead singer because it's like, what do you do with your hands?
I don't know.
And I wasn't gonna, and I'd see these guys shaking it. I go, I can't. And so my buddy, John Clarice, who is from Alton, and his folks used to run Fast Eddie's. when it was the Bon Air. When you'd walk in there and couldn't see your hand in front of you, it was so dark. But his dad was a jazz drummer, and John was a jazz drummer, and they lived up there behind Fast Eddie's. And John had a huge set of Rogers drums. They got to be worth $1 million today. He was 4 or 5 years older than me, and I met him at Alton High, and he was at summer school getting his GED, and I was just like, it's like 71. And so he takes me and goes, okay, you need a tambourine and a cowbell. I mean, this is before the whole cowbell thing, right? So he takes me to a drum shop, and he buys me a cowbell, and he shows me how to tape it up so it doesn't ring too bad, and how to tape the tambourine and the maracas. And so I had some stuff to do, with that,
Yeah.
But I just never could. I'm like, man, I just like to be in a band. It was like always the lead singer was separate from the other guys or whatever.
Yeah.
That was kind of that stigma. That the guy wasn't a real musician or something. And that's true. That probably is still true today. It may be.
For sure.
Because it takes a different, it's a different setting, of a performance for people. But getting back to the story, after I had kind of kept Griffin going for a while, everybody was set and making money. And we did pretty well. We make, $2,000 a week as a band.
And at that time and period,
that was better than
a job.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
for a moment I had to go get a real job, and it was $2.86 an hour.
It was a pay cut. Oh,
He's been out of it for a couple
I've been out
of
of
weeks.
it. Yep. I'm out of my normal.
Anyhow.
But anyway, that like I said, I just kind of everything I've ever been involved with musically, I go to a certain point. And I go, I think it's just time to change.
Yeah.
And do something else. And everybody's got their own reasons for why they do it, And back in the day, it was because of money, because we were trying to make a living at it. We were trying to get out. They had tiers of bands. You had your lounge band, and then you had, when the rock clubs started to come in, then you had these
Club
venues
bands.
where these regional people could come in and play, and now you could back them up or get to know them. And that's what I ended up going to these clubs, and I was out of high school, but the drinking age changed to 19 when I turned 19 in Illinois.
Oh, perfect timing.
For beer and wine. So all these places started popping up. So, I mean, that's all I was doing, was going to these places just enthralled by watching these guys play live right there. And that's actually how I got started. I got to know them, and they were like, hey, come up and sit in, and you can come up and sit in. They get to kind of hear what you sound like. And then you end up with a gig, and I ended up with a lot of gigs like that, just by being available and being open to what they needed. To be honest with you, a lot of my jobs I didn't really have that much experience. I just jumped in and gave it a shot, and they were generous enough to work with me. But once we're in the working situation, you're working. You're working every night, and the muscle memory is just there. So you've got this stuff on automatic pilot. So after Griffin, I was kind of like, what had happened, Tom Tarantino called me. We were friends. He was from Bethalto.
Right, I know Tom.
And he played in Troop years ago.
And he did a little stint with Pavlov's dog,
yes,
I believe, yeah.
Yes, he did. Great keyboard player.
Yeah.
He's a great keyboard player.
Excellent musician.
Yeah, so he calls me up and he says, think you want to come and play with us? And I hadn't really heard him because I knew the Wave Band, because they had a fellow, Steve Simon, rest in peace, great guitar player, who kind of was playing with guys around town. He played with Topaz, but he was from out in Missouri at, Herman, Missouri Steve was from. And so Tom, I got to know them through that, and Tom gave me a call, and so I go to audition. I didn't audition, they came out and see me play, see if, because they already had a band. I mean, if you saw that Wave Band, and I don't know if the guy singing was Charles Glenn.
Right.
And Charlie was doing all the stadiums, and, he's a phenomenal singer. But anyway, I think they wanted to be a little bit more rock and roll. If you listen to their music, it was pretty progressive, jazzy, rockish. But so anyway, I ended up going to the action and taking the bass player's place and Charlie's place. So we were 5-piece, and mainly we worked at Mississippi Nights. That was our big gig. Once a month we'd do a weekend.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it was. And it was right before, and this is like 83, 84. So it's before the punk heavy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I first played at Mississippi Nights in Griffin in 78, they still had the mechanical bull there.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And Jay Christopher was already playing 2 doors down.
Jay was in my band.
Was
he was in Griffin
right.
for a minute. He was. Jay was. All the guys. Well, you know how it is. And we had a group. I mean, I don't know, 30, 40 bands, 50 bands in that area. Most of them in Illinois. And we just hop bands. Jay was, he was in Griffin with me, and another fellow, Daryl Harbison, who was just passed away recently, a great guitar player. A lot of great guys, really, really that put a lot of time into it, And I don't know from singing. I mean, from playing, you got to have that dexterity. You got to have. Ultimately, you got to have the chops.
Right.
And it's not like at some point, no matter how hard I work, it's only going to do this. And it's the same with singing. I mean, I have no clue. I don't think about it anymore, Just
let it happen, man.
Yeah. And but when I got into the action, we were playing Mississippi Nights, and it was kind of cool because they had some pretty good originals, and they were kind of trying to hit that pop rock genre that was, and look a little punk,
yeah,
a little bit. And so, we went down that road, and we had a couple of gigs where we played a week, like the Cagney's over in North County. We played the whole week over there. And so anyway, after about a year, I don't remember really what it was. They got a manager that didn't like me, or I didn't like him, or something. I don't know what it was. They were going anyway. And so I quit the group, and I moved to L.A.
Okay. And
then I'm out there, and I get a phone call. Well, I forgot to tell you about the audition for the Star Search.
Yeah.
We had pissed off all of the booking agents in town because I worked for one guy and they worked for another guy, and we thought we're going to book ourselves, and it did work, and we did fine, but we pissed everybody off. So they were having auditions, and we had no clue what the audition was for. We were rehearsing, and they said, and we had a 45. And some gal, and Tom will know the lady's name, because she mentioned it. I heard him say it the other day, but she called him like on the sly and said, "You guys need to head down to Technosonic Studio. They're doing auditions for some show." So we grabbed our clothes and our tape, and we run down there, and we went through the motion. We had a little show, we were moving together. We had this whole little show. Went out of there, never thought another thing of it, didn't even really realize what it was, because back then, when did you watch TV? I mean, I didn't watch that.
Right.
I didn't know what that was. And I left and moved to L.A., and then get a call from them. They're going, "Yeah, well, we got the Star Search audition." I'm like, "Huh?" "Yeah, remember that we auditioned for them?" Going, "Okay. Well, we're coming out to L.A. to do the show. Do you still want to do it?" And I said, "Well, I'm not doing anything. I was just sitting there doing nothing." So I said, "Of course, come on out." And little to know they couldn't do it without me, but that's okay. But it was all right. It was so they came out, and when they stayed at the Riot House, the Hyatt on Sunset, with the pool on top, and we'd come downstairs and not audition, but do like a pre for the producers. Would come over to the hotel, and we'd come down and play our set for that day, and they would say yay and nay on the close or whatever. And then when it was time for the show, we'd all go down to, I don't remember the name of it's a major theater in Hollywood. It's where they have all the stuff at. It's a really old theater. But we walked in at like 10 in the morning, and they had everything catered. And you would go through dress rehearsals, 1 or 2, and then it'd be afternoon. They had dinner laid out, and then it was makeup and lighting, and it was the whole day until the show.
Right.
And then you played the show, and then it was over. And so the cool thing, I mean, in retrospect, the cool thing was just meeting people.
Yeah.
I mean, our very first show. It was everybody's very first show there, and I was sitting right next to Rosie O'Donnell.
Oh, wow.
And
Nice.
she had just come out for the audition, and she was with another comedian, and nobody really knew anything of anything, you know. And I got to sit next to Barbara Eden in my makeup chair. You know, I dream a genie.
Right, right.
But you know, stuff like that was pretty cool. And the band that we were up against, Heaven the band, big 7 or 8 piece soul band, really good. But out there, they kind of had the 3-show rule.
Right.
Because it was like after 3 shows, you had to join AFTRA.
Okay.
Or the union, whatever it was.
Okay.
Right.
It was AFTRA. So they really kind of were looking to kind of find the next band around then to try to keep it on the down low a little bit. That's just what I felt.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, we got royalty checks from the shows and everything,
Nice.
all in order, and kept me living for a while. But so we did these shows, you know, and we lost the 3rd one.
That's what I was going to say.
And,
3 of them.
So those they came back to St. Louis, and they said, well, you know, we're going to go on the road. If you know, we got a manager, we're going to go on the road. And so I came back for a little bit, and then they decided they weren't going to go on the road. So I just said, I'll go back to L.A.
Oh, wow.
That's what I did.
Pretty wild ride, though.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. And,
And you know, you guys advanced, like, you know, the first 2 went well. So then, you know, the 3rd one's.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wasn't a one-trick pony. You got to do it a couple of 3 times.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, you know, I mean, it was one of those things. I don't know how to say it. You know, I think it's the same today. I noticed with Ruby Lee.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's going through the same motions of what everybody really has to do of the business. You know, of
for
that.
sure.
And, you know, sometimes it doesn't matter how great you. Well, if you're great, and you have that one thing that people can go, yeah, that's great, but you know, then it's what about the rest of the time?
Yeah.
You know, you got to keep holding that stick up all the time, or what are you going to?
Right.
How are you going to bring it to it? So you know, in my time of playing the different styles of rock or whatever, it's just like it's all come down to just, can you just sit down with that guitar and pick out people and just start communicating to them?
Yeah.
Right. Make them feel something.
Yeah, make them feel something.
Anything.
And that's the best part of it. For
Yeah.
me, it's what keeps me going. I wish I could hire a roadie, but get my exercise.
Yeah, that ties into our ongoing theme, and that is, you know, we don't get paid to play music. We get paid to carry all the equipment.
Well, you know, especially now that since I've been playing with my wife for 15 years,
Right.
I'm her roadie.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know,
So
Nice of you.
I bought my wife an amp a few years ago, and as I was buying it, the salesman said, "Hey, pick up that Fender Rumble real quick." And with those, you know, those new magnets,
Yeah.
you could throw that thing.
I love that.
And I know I'm the one who's going to be carrying this thing. If it moves, it's not going to be her. I will take that, sir.
that is the lightest bass amp I ever picked up in my life, and it sound great.
They sound fabulous, and like you say, you could pick it up with one hand and
Yeah.
throw it at something, you know, throw it across the road like you're the Hulk or something. Yeah.
So for the folks just tuning in, we're talking with Paul Light of Everhart and Light, and formerly of Griffin, who's getting back together,
Yeah.
right, for the Granary. The Granary reunion.
Granary reunion.
September 7th, that's at the VFW in Collinsville. That's where they do all the wrestling. Rotate.
Yeah.
Troop is going to be there. Topaz is going to be there. Those
Wow.
guys are from around here. Who else? Faustus is going to be there. And who else? Us? I guess that's it. 4 or 5 groups. But yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of history, you know, and I've gotten together, you know, the group of musicians that is doing this has done a lot of benefits for the guys that have fallen by the wayside, you know, over the years. Since 2008 is when I started being involved with them. And, you know, it's after 50 years
Wow.
of, it's weird because it really does seem like a lot yesterday.
Yeah.
It's not like,
Absolutely.
it's not like, I guess it's because we communicate all the time with everybody, and we're still kind of in touch and in the loop, you know, with friends, and you still think of them in those terms, but everybody's just getting older.
Yeah,
you know?
But when you get together, so I recently got together with two guys that I hadn't played with in over about 10 years, but we spent a lot of time together. And the minute that we got in a room and started playing music, I felt like it was 30 years ago. Yeah. I always feel like a kid, but I was like, you had that moment of, oh wow, it's like it was yesterday that we were doing this together.
And that's the reason why to keep doing it. I mean, I do it. I play every day at the house, and we got gear set up. We're kind of doing projects, fun stuff, because we're trying to be retired, and so we're doing a lot of benefits. We're doing St. Jude's. It's Bobby and Justin's fundraiser for St. Jude's. That's at Global Brew House over in Edwardsville on the 24th of August. We're kind of playing a cool thing. It's at Chesterfield Amphitheater on August 29th. It's a Friday, and it's part of the Mississippi Moon Doobie Brothers tribute.
Cool.
And we're just going to open the show for them, jump up and play 25 minutes.
That's Everhart and Light?
Yeah. And
okay.
we're going to use the group with that. I mean, I do stuff solo, but it's, it's okay. I mean,
it's so much more fun with that.
I'm playing Alton Farmers Market on the 30th, Saturday, and I'm doing that solo. And then we're doing on Saturday, September 6th, the When I'm 64 Beatles Fest that's in Prairietown, which, it's really cool. And those people do a great job.
You've done that now for several years.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years, and each year it's something a little different, trying to figure out, okay, what can we do that maybe nobody else is going to do, or what era or whatever, so.
Do you know who else is playing that? I reached out to them, and they're kind of holding back on releasing who's playing. We see this from time to time with festivals. I don't know why they do it, but yeah, so I really don't know anything except you guys playing it.
Well, and I think, unless they advertise as Everhart and Light, we were originally part of a group called the 910 Band.
That's right.
Which I think was just pulled out of the air to have something to call it at the time being before we got involved.
Right.
But it's just kind of how it is with the network of players. And we have, I don't know, 3 good drummers and 3 good bass players that can at least get through a job.
Nice.
And, and it's just so nice to have that kind of talent. And, you can't be a slouch and expect to get good talent. You got to, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, do I ever?
But there's just a lot of great players in town, and so we're trying to do some projects where some guys fit in one project and the other guys might fit better in the other project, and our Moose band.
I was going to say, you guys are playing Friday night, right?
Yeah, at the Moose.
Tomorrow night.
Friday, that's the Wood River Moose, and we love that place. The Mooses are great. Next week's Edwardsville Moose. What else we got coming? Quick. The Granary reunion is on the September 7th and September 19th, Friday, Alton High School class of 73.
Oh, yeah.
At the Woodlands. That's a party for them.
Yeah.
Woodlands Golf Course. We've played for them before, and they're a year older than me. So they're always looking at me. And then on the following Saturday, the 20th, is Livingston Fair out in Livingston near Hamel.
Right.
They do a nice little fair out there.
Nice, yeah.
So, we're busy as I want to be.
You're retired, right?
Yeah. Well, not from music, apparently.
Right.
But
would you want to be? I
got plenty of yard to do stuff, but even at the end of the day, it's like, if you can, like I said, we're set up so we can rehearse most of the time, and we don't take advantage of it near as much as we should. And I think that's just the nature of the age sometimes, the day goes by fast, but there is just, trying to keep that basic music vibe out there so that when you do perform with people, you got something in common with them. You don't try to go in there thinking it's all about you. It's about them having a good time.
Right.
So you're trying to entertain them. And I don't know, I kind of see it as, it really gets turned around. People didn't used to call them shows. They just called them a gig.
Yeah.
It was just a gig. It was 5 or 6 nights a
Absolutely.
week. That's why.
Right.
It was a job.
Yeah.
You know.
And like you mentioned earlier, sometimes you do 2 gigs in a day. You do
Yeah.
an afternoon gig, and then you still got an evening
Yeah.
gig. You know.
Yeah, and luckily back then we had road crew.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite guys, Terry Weinman. He's from Alton, Godfrey, same class as '74. He was our sound man from high school through all those bands, and T, we called him T. I don't even think his folks knew what he did. Very few people. Really low key guy, but he did sound for us, and you know, through Crosswind and Griffin, and till I left to go to L.A. And but one of the things that he did religiously every gig was he would record
Yeah.
with his cassette deck.
Nice.
And so when he passed away, he's probably almost 10 years ago that he's passed away. His brother gives me this box.
Oh, wow.
His brother Wes. And so now I'm like, what are these? Because I didn't realize, and I look at them and they're all, he's never rewound them to listen to them. They're all halfway through. You know, he would
Just where he stopped them. Yeah.
He was just buying TDKs, you know, just wow. So anyway, so I got a hold of all of them and got them into digital, you know, and got them kind of I'm trying to get the sets split up, but it's 5 years of different players playing.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
And some of it is pretty cool, you know.
Yeah,
and it's
for
nice
sure.
to have that, even the banter. And the
Right,
period,
exactly.
You know, I could tell we were at Night Gallery because I'm talking to the kids from Jerseyville, or I'm, you know, where are you from? You know, and so it's a great memory. I'm trying to hold. I mean, I'm glad we could get it into the digital world.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, because some of it was when I had the tapes for a long time, but there was until recently no decent medium, you know, to get them, you know, from analog to digital.
Right.
You know, and so. But I'm glad I got them now, and they're great memories.
It's like a diary.
Yes.
You know what I mean? When you brought up the banner, we used to record every single night, and you know, we'd improv these songs. And when I go back and listen to it now, it's like, oh, that's when this happened, and we were talking about that because this happened. I wouldn't remember any of that if it wasn't for, you know, having that audio diary is what I call it.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked at, well, I guess lucky because of technology, especially with AI coming, because they can separate everything and all the frequencies and somehow pull those things apart to clean them up.
Wow.
And because my stuff was from a reel to reel,
Exactly.
stereo off the
Exactly.
board,
Yeah.
you know. So I mean, it was kind of funky to begin with.
Get some of the hiss out of it and different things, right? Yeah, that's cool,
Yeah.
man. That is super cool.
Yeah.
Well, we want to talk about Friday night a little bit and let people know what's going on around the Riverbend. Mila Duffy's going to be playing down at Morrison's on Friday night from 6 until 10. And we got Sievers and Huber doing the Flock food truck lot from 6 to 9 on Friday night. We got Clay Bitter at 1:30 and Hall & Oates at Fast Eddie's at 7 o'clock. The Buzz Tones at the VFW from 7 to 11 on Friday night. Yeah. And Hookie out at Baker's and Hale from 7 to 11 on Friday night. Everhart and Light doing the Moose in Wood River from 7 until 10. You guys play there quite a bit. You like the Mooses then, huh?
Well, you know, it's they're early.
Yeah, 7 to 10 is good.
And I can go in the afternoon. I go in the afternoon and set up, and so you know, it's a comfortable place. And
It is.
They're good people.
Good
and
food.
and good food. And you know, we're just not the late. We're not the late people anymore. You know,
Home before midnight there, man.
I'm
way
hearing
before
that.
midnight.
Yeah.
Way before midnight. I mean, the driving is the hardest thing.
For sure.
But yeah.
According to Tom Petty, it's the waiting. That's the hardest part.
Well, also going on Friday night, we got Scott and Carl at the loading dock, 5 to 8. Toxic Johnny at the pub in Grafton from 7 to 11. Carrie Lee at the Bloody Bucket from 7 to 10. Jim Mager at the Aries in Grafton from 3 to 7. And Levi Tucker doing George's Pub and Grill in Jerseyville from 6 to 9. Hobo Jungle down at Doyd's Village Inn at 8:30 on a Friday night. And it's Frisky Friday, drag show. At the Tegan's Pub down there, $15 cover if you want to check out the drag. Of course, we always got drag shows right here in Alton. Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and sometimes Wednesday night. You never know, they do drag bingo down there at Bubby and Sissy's, so not a big deal to us when we see somebody else having a drag show.
No.
Let's see what else is going on. Schaefer and Sims at the Sam's Last Chance Saloon. That's the old corner tavern right there in Edwardsville from 8 to 11. A comedian, a.k.a. Cowboy Bill. I'm not familiar with him, but it's the Funny Life Tour, and it's William Lee Martin at the Wild E Theater at 7:30. New Prairie Drifters, seeing them guys a lot these days, 9 o'clock at Backstage in Edwardsville, and Dave Horton at Big Daddy's from 6 to 9 doing his country acoustic. And Josh Last Trio at the Stagger Inn from 5 to 8 on a Friday night. And I always have to give a shout out to Butch Moore because that's where I find out who's playing.
That's right.
The Stagger Inn.
Butch.
You go to the Stagger Inn website, you're not going to find it. You got to go see Butch Moore's personal page, and he always puts it out there. And Butch,
he also ran tape and recorded every open mic night at the Stagger Inn for decades.
I have a story about that, too.
Yeah. Scott Marlin's over at the Chesterfield Amphitheater on Friday night with Grand Illusion, a Styx tribute. So, yeah.
Very cool.
And there's a Friday night for. There's other gigs on there, but you can check those out at cottonmouth.org. And let's go ahead and do some Saturdays, especially the early part of the day at the Farmers Market, 8 a.m. Acoustic potluck. See, I got to look at that twice. That's actually a band.
Okay.
I mean, it could be food at the Farmers Market.
Acoustic food.
So, and then the Roundback Bistro has got Abigail Tate from 12:30 to 3:30. Live jazz at Bossa Nova. The Toulon Court is how I believe you say that. Featuring Travis Madison and Rob Nugent. Go ahead, Pigman. You know you want to make a Ted Nugent joke at this point.
Well, that's his son, isn't it? It's little Robbie.
I think it might be his dad. I don't know. Anyways, I'm doing jazz down at Bossa Nova from 7 to 10 on Saturday. Naked Soul and Twisted Road, the two bands. At Fast Eddie's on Saturday, Porch Cafe doing the VFW from 7 to 11. And they're going to do their Bud Summers festival pretty soon. So we'll have to get some of them Mondans playing with the Soulard Blues Band and the Mondan Band. He's going to work.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Agent 99 at Bakers and Hale on Saturday from 7 to 11. Kapow. 9 o'clock at the Pump House in Wood River. Alley Tones from 7 to 11 at Chico's in Wood River. The Tracy Inman Band at the Refinery in Wood River on Saturday. And they got the Cassins annual Jeep run to benefit the Children's Miracle Network up at the Hog Pit on Saturday with the Second Chance Band. And they've opened up for several national acts. They'll be playing from noon until 5. Of course, Grafton always with a ton of stuff going on. Jake Weber and the Lonesome Drifters doing the pub on Saturday. Harvest Drive following them up at 7. Rogers and Neen House at the Winery from 3 to 7. Pirates in Paradise at the Loading Dock. And C.J. Smith and Driver, 7 to 10 at the Bloody Bucket with Carl Mager at the Aries Winery on Saturday. So there's your Grafton lineup for Saturday. Tons of stuff happening in Granite City and Edwardsville as well. And anything jumping out at you? I know it's jumping out at me. Cottage Hills Wrestling Alliance back at the Legion in Edwardsville as they continue. And we mentioned that they did a lot of those gigs down in Collinsville where the reunion's happening on September 7th. The Granary reunion. Griffin, Troop, Topaz, Faustus. Any other ones come to mind? That's about it, right? Yeah. So Troop and Topaz is in there, and I think you mentioned Tom played in both those bands. Tom Tarantino.
Tom played in Troop.
Okay,
yeah,
so is he gonna come back?
I think that he is.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I think that he is.
Yeah, he doesn't do that often, so that's pretty cool.
Do we have time for one more short story about?
We got
about
tons
the Granary.
Of time. Yeah, I just wanted to fly through a few of those. Yeah.
Well, and I'm not even sure. I was in a band in high school called Zebulon Pike.
I love it.
I kind of remember
it already.
Yeah, I remember you talking about this before.
That was these guys that I learned to play from, and John was in the band with us too. But we were a prog rock band, and there weren't any prog rock bands around back then. You had the lounge groups, you know, like at the Holiday Inns and things like that. And then you had whatever was trying, you know, us kids were trying to play anywhere. You know, there wasn't really anywhere. The places that we played, our first gig, because we practiced at Mondon's house down on Western Drive, you know, by Crest Drive.
Right.
And what's the club? What's the place that sits up on the corner? It used to be, it's the Sports Tap. Yes.
Oh,
it's the
okay.
Sports Tap.
Yeah, I was
It's the
gonna say,
Sports
yeah,
Tap.
yeah.
It used to be a private club. I can't think of the name of it. Anyway,
The Trailer Park Club.
John's mom would go to the club, you know, and so she got us a gig there.
Nice.
First gig, so we carried our gear
Now, there you
up the
go.
hill from Western Drive, up the back to the back.
The hill.
And we were talking about me getting shocked. That was one of the places I got it. Because you remember back then they only had 2 prongs, right? They didn't have any ground. They didn't have any ground on anything. Everything's 2 prong. So anyway, we get a gig. I don't know where these gigs came from because these guys were a little old. These guys were seniors and I was a 9th grader or whatever. And we end up playing at SIU. And this is like Canned Heat. Played in the Meridian Ballroom.
Wow.
Nice.
And then there was a band that opened for
those
them, and then my band Zillion Pike opened for them. Man, I'm like, holy shit! I never saw this. We had monitors. I never saw monitors before, right?
I know that feeling.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so we played that, and anyway, we got an invitation, or somebody said you guys should play the Granary, and we hadn't even been out of Alton, you know.
Yeah.
So we end up over there for an audition, and I remember I'm pretty sure John was in the band too. I can't. Some of this is fuzzy, but I remember setting up and playing, and then nobody really came up and said anything, and then we packed up and we were going out the door, and I think somebody came up and said, "Well, we didn't know you guys were so young. It's a 21 club. I mean, it was still 21 then, and we were kids."
Right.
You know, but we'd played some rough bars,
Yeah.
you know, out in the middle of nowhere. But so, yeah, that was my Granary story from the first time, you know.
You know, that happened way more often than people probably realize, you know,
man.
especially from this era. I mean, being underage and in a band, you could get into clubs and play. I've heard
I
several stories from the 70s. That was, you know, matter of fact, Rick Birdsong, who was in a band with my brother, they were in what, you know, we call a jazz band now in high school, right? But their teacher actually booked them in clubs. So it's like, yeah, Mr. Opp out there at CM.
Well, I don't know. We had one of the guitar players in the band was kind of a biker guy, and I think he was the one that would get us these gigs. Some of these places like down in East Alton, Wood River, and I'm not really sure of the whole biker clubs or who they were.
Well, I was thinking about Cottage Hills, like
we
the
played
Cadillac and
the Cadillac and the Matador.
The
Matador.
there's some stories.
I got pictures from that place, but I mean, we were 15.
Wow.
We were 15,
Yeah.
and we would play there, and it was rough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And if there was a fight, everybody would go out. The band would quit. Everybody go outside and get in a big circle. And the cops would come and stand in the big circle with everybody. And if it was a cat fight, girls fighting, oh my gosh, fur would fly. But these people were crazy, you know. And you know, being our age, we're on the back, we're out here looking in, you know. It's crazy. There was a place called Ray's Place at SIU that was down 157 where it meets 270.
Yeah.
There was a place that sat there. It was like an octagon. It was called Ray's Place. It was a bar that all the kids from SIU went to. And I remember going there to play, and we threw John we had a pickup truck, and John went in the back with the truck with the gear, and I think he had a bottle of wine. I'm not sure, but anyway, we got clear over there, and we set up and play, and the place they had streakers. Do you remember when that was big?
Oh, yeah.
Well, this guy had bras and underwear all over the club, and then we were playing, and all these people start going through. I guess they're from SIU. They're running through naked. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
You know?
Ray Stevens had a song about it, right?
Exactly.
Call me those streaks.
That might be his biggest song, actually.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that we were talking about our mothers a while ago is like my, you know, they knew we did that stuff, but they didn't ask any questions. And as long as you weren't they didn't have to go to jail to get you out.
Right.
You know, it was like nobody talked about it. It just happened, and it was okay. But there was, that was, I mean, if it would have been my kids, no. I was too overprotective of my kids. They go on.
See, unfortunately, with my kids, I was actually streaking through their parties. They're like, Dad, put some pants on.
Please.
Oh, I didn't know anyone was here.
Jeez.
It's like you didn't realize you're on the radio right now.
Oh, I have no idea where I am or what's going on.
Hey, I forgot to mention Philly Nelson's playing Saturday at the backstage.
Oh,
Right
nice.
there across from the Wild East. So.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
One of these days.
So, so the Granary reunion coming up on September 7th, the Collinsville VFW. You guys are also playing BeatleFest, which is out in Prairietown. I guess they do that in a park out there or something?
Yeah, it's next to the Prairie Inn.
Okay, so.
It's like right across the street, I think.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
Okay.
right next door to it, yeah.
Yeah.
And is there a cost for the BeatleFest?
No.
No? So that's a free one. What about
Nice.
the reunion?
That's a $20 donation. It's for, what did they call it? Something for tunnels for, I don't know what it was called, the benefits for, but
Okay.
there was a donation at that.
And I think you mentioned another benefit you guys got coming up. I want to plug anybody we can
Livingston
on that.
Fair is free. That's Saturday, the 20th of September.
Was there another benefit
St.
you guys?
Jude, I
The
think.
St. Jude ones. Yeah, that's it.
Sunday, the 24th, August 24th. That's Bobby and Justin's benefit for St. Jude's, and it's at the Global Brew House.
Okay, yeah.
And it's
We'll
pretty
talk about
cool
that.
from noon till 5:30 or so, and
It's something we talk about on here quite a bit. Why live music is important to our community, and one of our number one things we always remind people of is when somebody needs to raise money, all the bands will
They come out of the
volunteer their time. I mean, it's we jokingly have said that, and it's true, that we've raised more money for other people than we've ever made as a band, and it's a
that's
great
okay.
thing. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
very true.
For
very
sure.
true.
But and as a band, just from the other side of it, the benefits are the best times too. I mean, they're packed full of people that don't normally come out,
Great
and
food, usually
so.
something that's
but it's huge, and the more we have a music community, that draws people here. They move here
it's
because
huge
of
here.
that. You know what I
there's-
mean?
There's so much music going on around here. I mean, so much more than 50 years ago.
Right.
So much more.
Right. We all the time say, to some of the younger guys when they come in, it's like, man, it's so cool. You guys got a place to play in town. It's like we had to rent a hall and it cost us more money than we'd
I
ever
bought
make.
clubs. I bought clubs to have a place to
Yeah.
play.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just so I didn't have to
Yeah, that's
carry my
right. I
stupid
forgot
bike.
Shakers. Shakers was
Right.
And the
one of them.
Lighthouse,
And the
yeah,
Lighthouse,
yeah.
right,
Right
which
down
a
the street.
studio was named after.
Yeah,
Right.
I need to go over and record at their studio one of these
Yeah, you
days.
should, man.
Yeah.
But it's like we got a bunch of songs. It's like we're always
Pushing forward.
pushing forward.
Yeah.
And it's kind of
Yep.
hard to go back and
Yeah.
grasp things. I don't know what time goes by.
I
but
just
it's,
played the new Olive song a couple weeks ago. The video is going to get released here in a day or so. And they recorded down there. Alex St. Sin doing the engineering. Oh, baby, and it sounded so good.
I've
Sounded
been
so
been
good.
jamming out on the new Crown Rock, and I
Rock
think
Crown.
a Rock Crown, and as I say it backwards, my dyslexia kicked in. My
Well,
dyslexia.
It's hard to
kicked
talk
in.
when you're naked.
Sorry to dance with no music, but I'm still doing it, man. The Rock Crown.
Yeah.
I've been listening to their album. I'm
it's
pretty
really
sure
good.
it was recorded. Oh, it sounds so
where
good.
are they from?
They're from the Alton area. So the
Yeah.
only two members I know for sure are
Jacob.
Jacob Pullen, Tom
Oh.
Pullen's son.
Yeah, I know Jake.
And then Drew Robertson, Scott Robertson's son. So two of my old homies' kids.
Yeah, it sounds fabulous. I had it all queued up to play tonight, but
I was.
then Paul Light showed up, and I'm like, wait a minute, my notes are wrong.
I'm sorry. I'm so
But
sorry. I'm not sorry.
I've been excited to talk to Paul for a while because you know we dive into this this being the home of rock and roll. And so I got to talk to him a little bit before we came on the air about that. And he told a story again. He told this story the last time we had him on about a band member of him ending up with Duane Allman's guitar. Yeah. So how does that happen?
Well, a friend of mine, and I mentioned their band a while ago, Full Moon Consort, and the fellow's name was Joe Marshall, and he, I guess they're South St. Louis is where these guys were from. You know, they were 6, 7, 8 years older than me. You know, and I got to know Joe because I hired him into Griffin. But prior to that, he had been in Full Moon. And he had been in a number of groups going back into the 60s. One was called the Acid Set. You know, this is psychedelic stuff,
Right.
you know.
I like it.
And there was a lot of teen clubs back then. You really couldn't get, there weren't rock clubs yet. And so down at Gaslight Square, I guess was the tail end of Gaslight Square, they still had, you know, soul reviews. And, you know, like I said, George Edick's place, I think, was the Imperial. They were still doing lounge bands, you know, the guys with the same suits, you know. And so I guess Joe hung out down there and he mentioned Steve Scorfina did too, and I think a lot of guys did. Musicians would hang out anywhere where you would kind of hear other guys playing. You know, we've all kind of did that. You know, you hear somebody. I remember when I lived in Alton when I was a kid, J.B. Johnson lived on the corner of Maxey and Washington Avenue. You know who J.B. Johnson is?
Yeah, he named a school after him.
School after. He was a superintendent. Anyway, this is the 60s, and his daughter's having a party, and they live 2 houses from me, and I'm in the thing listening through the listening to 60, you know, and that's what would go on. You know?
Cool, and he had a party going.
But that's how you learned back then. There wasn't this instant I can at any moment hear anything I want.
Well,
You
yeah,
had to search
exactly.
for it. You would search for it.
You had to go out and look for
For
it.
sure. I mean, you know, right now we could get on YouTube, sit down in front of the guy playing the song you want to
And have him teach it to
Back
you.
then, you went to see somebody play the song.
Well, that's what I was saying.
You'd
You know,
look at him and go, okay, he's playing.
You're hoping to pick up a lick or two.
Exactly.
And remember it when you get home, you know.
So Joe was hanging there with his friends, and you know these guys come out for a smoke on a break, and that's basically how he met the Allman Brothers from the Allman Joys.
Right.
And you know this is probably 67, something like that, 68 maybe. And then they took the Allman Joys. They got a record deal and went to L.A. And they think they were called the Allman Joys, their first couple of albums.
Okay, yeah.
And
they
they
were.
came back and forth and went through things. But Duane was kind of moving around, and you know he was down at Muscle Shoals, and he was doing all these different things. And he would
Busy inventing Southern rock.
when they came into St. Louis, they had girlfriends here, and they had kids here, and so they would come back more and more often and see him. And so Joe got to know him on a personal level and got to know Duane really well. They stayed at his house, you know, and you know everybody was broke.
Yeah.
They were broke musicians.
Yeah.
And you know the guitars that he had were just like, if you can imagine, most guitar players, by the time they get done doing everything to make them sound the way they want them, that's the way they do, you know. And so anyway, when Duane got killed on a motorcycle, his wife, and I can't think of her name right now, but anyway, she was trying to figure out what to do with his stuff.
Yeah.
And so she knew Joe very well and said, Joe, will you hold on to this guitar until Duane's daughter's 21?
All right.
And I can't think of his daughter's name, but when she turned 21, he gave it back to her. And it's now in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Gibson did a really nice write-up, Gibson Guitars. You can Google it, and it talks all about that story. But he never told me the story, that much of the story. You know?
You brought up that the Allman Brothers had girlfriends and children back in the St. Louis area. I just had Maddie Shell was at my house today.
Oh, okay.
And she plays with Devin Allman and Duane Betts, and we were sitting talking. I spent a lot of time talking Allman Brothers this afternoon.
Yeah.
So
I kind of remember when Greg came, do you remember kind of when the whole thing blew up for him in Macon and everybody got busted?
Yeah,
So he ended up in St. Louis.
Yeah.
In Mama's Pride.
Right.
And I'm not going to say anything against Greg. I mean, I don't know him. I mean, I have much respect for him, but to me, that was like not the best thing for them, because they had their own thing. But they could do what he needed. I mean, they could do that.
They could back up whoever.
He was perfect for them. And then he went to L.A. and got married to Cher.
And two crazy people marrying each other. Where is this going to go now?
But Joe carried that guitar around with him, for 2 years
like
on
a
the
baby.
road with us, and he was just just one of these guys that was just a great player of tone.
Yeah.
I mean, he had no pedals. He had a 5-watt Fender Champ amp.
Tone was all out of his hands.
And it was all out of his hands, and he had a couple different old guitars. He let me play his Black Beauty. I played that a little bit, and I played Dwayne's guitar. And,
I was going to say, really, how could you not?
It didn't really feel like anything specifically special, but
you put it in the hands of Dwayne. Put it in the hands of Dwayne, and you're going to see something special.
Yeah, there's definitely a vibe of something like I was mentioning. There's definitely a vibe that came through those guys to these guys, and I've been trying to hold on to it and carry, because it's really it's anybody. It's young people, old people. It doesn't really matter. Just sitting down with anybody that's interested to learn live music or hear it.
Yeah.
And I mean, everything else with Facebook seems just like a blur.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't. There's so much content that it's like.
Hey, speaking of that, you mentioned a great website that if people want to learn more about the St. Louis music history, it's St. Louis Music Yesteryears.
Yeah.
And it's got a lot of information on there about your era of music and all that. So if you want to dive deeper,
I think that's the one you sent me a link, and I clicked on it, and holy smoke, is there a lot of information
and
there about?
It's all broke up by bands, clubs, history, where are they at now? A friend of mine, Greg Bishop, and Greg, he's from St. Louis. He was in Griffin with me when we first started, and he started the whole site and the collection of all this stuff like in 2008, when a couple of guys were getting sick, and we were trying to find a means to get everybody back together in a place large enough to kind of fit maybe 300 people, with all these different, and it's always the same group of bands, and or ones we can still get to play,
For sure.
And but that just trying to keep it. I mean, we do a lot of benefits, and for musicians too, and there wasn't no retirement for musicians.
No,
never has been.
No,
never.
When I got to LA, I got a real job.
Yeah,
because I mean.
Did you get a haircut too?
Well, yes, I did. And you know what's funny?
A haircut and a real job.
I did exactly that. But I got the haircut, and I didn't realize until COVID, I hadn't had long hair since that. I didn't even know. I said, "What's that doing growing there?" It's growing the top now,
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, it was, I just, you had to make that decision at some point. I mean, I don't know. I had too many kids. I was like, especially living in LA.
Yeah.
That's rough.
But I got to do a lot of fun stuff again, just being able to play out there, and we walked into this little club, my brother and I, and it was just a tiny little club just in the suburbs of LA, Sierra Madre area. And we walked in one day, and there happened to be a sound guy there just testing his new PA. I go, "You want us to test it for you?" He goes, "Oh yeah, you got a guitar?" "Yeah."
Oh yeah.
So me and Mike jump up there, and we were doing duos like Simon and Garfunkel.
Right.
That's what we decided to do when we got to LA. It was like, okay, let's go in reverse. Let's go learn all this stuff that nobody else is doing, and we'll just do it acoustically. So we were just a little bit before MTV Unplugged, but we weren't pop. And I was probably too old. I was 30, These guys were 20.
You're 30. We should take up a collection and buy you a watch. He's old.
Oh, man, I remember turning 30.
But,
I was like, oh, no.
But we played these clubs. We played this club, and after a while, they're going, "Well, could you open up for these bands?" I go, "Well, sure." Because they loved the fact we could just jump up.
Yeah.
And
there's not a lot of setup. The other band can be set up behind you. You can just get up in front of them, play.
Yeah. So we would end up playing for these pretty well-known bands in this tiny little club that held 50 or 60 people.
Yeah.
Wow.
And one of the bands was called Billy and the Beaters.
Okay.
And they were an LA band. What's Billy's name? Anyway.
Billy Beater.
They had the hit, "What Would You Think I Would Do at This Moment?"
Really, they wrote that.
Billy
Shears? No, just kidding.
Shears.
He replaced Paul McCartney. You know what I'm talking about.
What is Billy's last name?
Anyway.
You'll have to look it up because he's a great songwriter. He did a lot of stuff. But anyway, his band was playing, and his band played like we played when there was like nobody out, nobody there, and he had a big band, and so that we played for a couple of years, and every month they'd come through and we'd play the gig with them, and open up for them, and then somebody from the show. Michael J. Fox's
okay.
movie,
Family Ties?
Family Ties. The
Yeah.
guy who produced that show loved Billy Vera.
Billy Vera. I just pulled it up over here.
So they loved that song by Billy Vera, and this was like 3 years after they recorded it, or 4 years after they recorded it. It was just like out of the blue. They said, "Can we use your song for this?"
Yeah.
And so they did, and that was like '86 maybe.
Wow.
And so we were opening up for them. And all of a sudden, the line's down and around the block to come and see these guys,
Yeah.
And
awesome.
so that was pretty cool. And people show up, Angie Dickinson was sitting there when we got off stage. She goes, "Oh, I just love you guys."
Nice.
Something.
Nice.
But stuff like that was cool because we could just go play and enjoy ourselves, so we didn't have the heat of being a headliner.
Right. Right. You didn't have to pull the crowd. Someone else was pulling the crowd. You didn't have to.
Right.
You didn't have to bring the whole thing. You get up and do it without having to do all the work, as much of the work. So,
I got to tell you, do you got time for one more story?
we're a little over time already. I think I ran out of time 5 minutes ago.
It's a good one.
All right, let's hear it then.
Okay.
We go over from time to time.
My
but,
brother
you
and
know.
I had a duo when we were out there. We turned into a trio called AKA, and we were playing in the Doherty-Irwindale area of L.A. Basin, where they were going to put a football stadium in the '80s, and people came in and said, "No, you can't have it there. We're not going to let you have it. You'll ruin nature." So anyway, they had built a few clubs. One club was called Rapscallions, and me and my brother were going to play there, and nobody's in the place. I mean, nobody's in the place.
Know that feeling.
And we were playing Friday and Saturday nights, to the bartenders and a few people.
Right.
And back in the back, sitting by themselves, I go, "That guy looks familiar. Who is that guy?" And so I walked back there, and it was Michael Anthony
Ah.
and his wife.
Nice.
And they were having a good time. But they're only in there, and I go back to my brother. I go, should we get him at the jam? He goes, don't bug him. I said, okay, don't bug him.
Let's just play some Van Halen for him.
So anyway, the next time we see him again.
Wow, nice.
So I'm going up to him because he's my age.
Hey.
So I go up to him. I go, "Hey, Michael, what are you doing?" He's, "Hey," and he introduced himself. I said, "Come on back and play a tune with us." He goes, "Sure." And he got up and he sang a tune called "I don't have to sing the blues no more." Grand Funk Railroad
Oh,
tune.
nice.
The first time it hit me in the head that was Van Halen's voice, was his voice.
Exactly.
He was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah. He doesn't get enough credit for that.
No, not at all.
100%.
Not at
Yeah.
all. So
Yeah.
that was kind of cool. But stuff like that. Being a musician, you always do odd stuff, and doing these benefits, you never know what you're going to run into.
That's for sure.
So
That's
being
for sure.
flexible.
And,
Because people will call you back with maybe a pan gig.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, and we appreciate everything you do for the music scene. It was great that you guys had the original showcase going on down there at Shea, Maryland. You've had clubs and got bands gigs there, and you've always supported other bands, and it's so huge. It's so huge for us all to work together like that to make it
We've
happen.
met so many people. I can't, I told my wife when we got together, I said, "I just want you to be able to play with as many people as you can."
Yeah.
And because it's just such a cool
It is.
thing when you get past what all these other people are in it for, and you just get to the real stuff, and when you're just sitting and playing. And, every time we rehearse, we have a great time.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
So.
For sure. So thanks a lot,
appreciate
Paul
you guys having
Light, and get out and check out the Granary reunion on September 7th. Check out BeatleFest. That's the 6th, right?
The BeatleFest is on the, where'd it go? I know it's here somewhere. Yes, it is September 6th,
So
Saturday.
you got a busy weekend that weekend.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Back to back.
I'm trying to learn. I'm not going to. Should we rehearse? I said, let's wing it.
Right?
I don't know.
We'll figure
You
it
got
out.
the benefit at Global Brew on the 24th for St. Jude. So lots of opportunities, and we'll have all these gigs listed on cottonmouth.org. So if you want to get out and support Everhart and Light and Paul Light, the way he's supported the music scene, I suggest that's a great idea for sure. Definitely. And thanks again.
And hopefully real soon we'll have a new plan on the open mic in the singer-songwriter thing. Like I was mentioning before, we just kind of started really liking the whole band thing because those guys were so good. So we're looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, you might try that old place that you had, Shakers. They do a lot of neat stuff down there still at the conservatory, and that'd be perfect.
They're late people. They're like
They are late.
Yeah. You gotta
Hey, you could change it up. They're flexible.
I'm afraid they're going to get what they got with me.
Hey, thanks again to Paul Light for coming in, being our guest. Big thanks to Halpin Music and, of course, Matt Van Voorhis for their support for all these so many years. Everybody, thanks for listening. Get out this weekend and, of course, all through the weekend. Support local music and art.